the state of Florida. State of Florida is always a very hotly contested recruiting ground. The coaching scene in Florida, that's always what people are looking at. Like when Urban Meyer came down to Florida, he turned the entire sport on its ear, the SEC, the sport, but he turned the Florida recruiting scene on its ear too. So you watch guys come and go, and everybody fears having a great recruiter at Florida or Florida State or Miami. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone other than the folks at those programs. Well, right now, the scene in Florida is pretty interesting. So on 247sports.com the other day, they asked all of the experts, both regional and local, let's rank the best head coaches as recruiters in the state, all of the FBS guys. So here are the names, and here's what I want you to do, because I played this game too. Think about the names I'm about to list, and I want you, if you want to, you can hit pause, whether you're listening to the podcast or watching the show, or you can't do it live, but if you're watching the replay, think about these names and try and rank them real time in your head. Best recruiters. You're calibrating all this, okay? We understand the head coach at FIU is not going to recruit heads up against the head coach at Florida, but when all factors are taken into consideration, you've got Dan Mullen at Florida, you got Mike Norvell at Florida State, Manny Diaz at Miami, okay? Then you've got Butch Davis, our guy Butch Davis down at Florida International. Jeff Scott is at South Florida. You've also got Gus Malzahn, just came in the door about 5 minutes ago at UCF. And then over at FAU, you got Willie Taggart. How would you rank those guys? Okay, because we did it over at 247sports.com. I didn't vote here. I'm going to tell you how I would have voted in a second. But how about this? Manny Diaz, sort of a runaway number one. The list, here are the rankings, by the way, if you're listening on podcast form. It was Manny Diaz, number one at Miami. Gus Malzahn, ranked number two head coach recruiter in the state of Florida at Central Florida. Dan Mullen checked in at number three. Mike Norvell checked in at number four. And then it was Willie Taggart at FAU, Jeff Scott at USF, and Butch Davis at FIU. All right. What do you think about that? You can let me know in the comments below. Here are a few of the bones that I wanted to pick. I want to address number 7 first. It hurts me. It hurts me to see Butch Davis down at number 7, knowing his history, knowing what he built at Miami before Mr. Coker ultimately walked in and took that job and reaped a lot of the benefits of that. But also looking at what he did when he was at North Carolina, the guy can recruit. The guy is world renowned. He's done it year over year over year. So I don't know where he should be ranked here. I don't think he should be 7th. Let me circle back to that. Also, Jeff Scott, they had him ranked 6th out of 7. Jeff Scott is a lot better than that. You're not going to see it. Again, he's not going to put a class together at the University of South Florida that rivals what Mike Norvell is able to do or Manny Diaz is able to do. Jeff Scott would be a superstar as a recruiter if he were the head coach at either of those programs. I don't know what kind of coach he would be, and he's a brand new head coach. So he'll have time. Like his day will probably come. But Jeff Scott, look at his body of work at Clemson. I don't think it was just the tiger paw bringing a lot of those guys in there. Jeff Scott's a very good recruiter. The other thing, I look at him, Jeff Scott, in comparison to Gus Malzahn. I don't think Gus Malzahn, I just got to be honest with you, I would not take Gus Malzahn. If you're telling me find the best recruiter, I wouldn't take him over Jeff Scott. Malzahn was ranked 2nd. Scott was ranked 6th. That's just my feeling on that. Now, here's the pushback that you could give me. They did it. Chris Hummer compiled a very good article with a lot of quotes and a lot of feedback from the guys who voted on this. You can easily push back on this. You can tell me, for example, well, Gus Malzahn, I mean, he never finished lower than 12th in the 24/7 Sports team rankings from 2013 through 2020 at Auburn. His last class, that was the year he got fired. Yeah, that is what it is. But outside of that, always in the top 12 any given year. That's true. That is true. The votes on Malzahn, I think, tell the story, though. There was a first place vote for Gus Malzahn. There was a 6th place vote for Gus Malzahn. So there's a lot of feel that maybe Auburn sells itself to a certain extent, and Gus Malzahn did not achieve very far above and beyond what the average recruiter would have done at Auburn. Let's put it that way. I don't necessarily disagree with that sentiment. I did not very often see Gus Malzahn go up against Kirby head-to-head, Saban head-to-head, Jimbo head-to-head, and win a lot of big-time recruiting battles. When's the last time you watched Auburn go head-to-head against Dabo and win a recruiting battle? I'm not saying it hasn't ever happened. I'm saying it wasn't very often that was happening. So I don't know necessarily that I agree with Malzahn being quite this lofty, but, it's also a situation, if you're a Central Florida fan, you also know good and well Josh Heupel didn't light the world on fire down there either. In fact, Josh Heupel was never ranked that highly when these guys had done this previously. So I could say that about Malzahn and also in the same breath say, but yeah, there's nowhere to go but up. I mean, he's going to probably do better than Josh Heupel had done there. Norvell was ranked, where was he? He was fourth. Mike Norvell at Florida State, fourth. No one has any clue what to expect, rather. And no one really knows what you're going to get from Norvell because he came in from Memphis. So there's nowhere to properly gauge how he's going to be as a recruiter at Florida State. But here's the other thing. I mean, if you're paying attention, you already know this. We haven't really gotten to see Mike Norvell, the classical recruiter, yet because they've had to hit up the transfer portal so heavily. They've kind of done some of the same things that Florida has done, only Florida and Dan Mullen are doing it out of choice. And whereas Mike Norvell feels like he's doing it out of desperation and necessity. And so you could make the argument with Dan Mullen at 3 and Mike Norvell at 4, you can make the argument both of those guys position themselves to potentially be able to surge in this ranking next year, the year after that, for different reasons, though, because I'm a big believer, and I think these guys will probably do this in the coming years too. I'm a believer that you have to blend the philosophies in recruiting of high school and transfer portal. Now, whether you choose to use the transfer portal a lot, that's up to you. Dan Mullen in Florida are going to very liberally leverage the transfer portal. I think that's becoming obvious. Mike Norvell, maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I think right now, we don't know about Dan Mullen just because we figured him out as a high school recruiter. We don't know if this is going to be a yearly thing. They're going to be able to get elite guys year over year out of the transfer portal. But with Mike Norvell, we just don't know if this is really what he wants to do. We haven't seen him stack a class of 23 or 24 high school recruits. And when we finally see that, you'll probably be able to get a lot better gauge on how good Mike Norvell is relative to the rest of the pack here. But hey, Butch Davis, I told you I didn't like seeing him at number 7. It should be noted he did get a first place vote. So I work here. I got some friends who were on this panel, and I'm not above slipping a 20 to find out who voted Butch first, and then slipping another 20 to buy them lunch, because that's just the kind of guy I am.